So lesson 2 of the Back Carry Boot Camp was mainly about learning how to get baby onto your back, either facing baby with your arms crossed and getting them onto your back, or starting with baby faced away from you and swinging them onto your back that way. And all that practice was done without the wrap. So lesson 3 is essentially the same thing. We're going to add the wrap, which does add a certain level of complication because wraps are long and tangly. So I'm going to be demonstrating this first with baby facing me, laying down on the wrap, which is what I prefer for a smaller baby. And when I do this, I start by grasping the shoulder joints just as I would, except for I'm going to catch the wrap in my fingers as well, so that when I get baby on my back, the wrap is on my back as well. And so the problem with this is what a lot of people tend to do is swing baby around their shoulder, and as you can see, the wrap starts to get pinned between us. And if you're doing baby facing away, this gets even worse, where you are all tangled up and you can't find that one tail because it's all pinned between you. So the primary difference when you add the wrap is that you need to stop thinking about moving baby around you and think more about moving you to face your back towards baby. And what I mean by this is instead of facing baby and grabbing their shoulders and turning them around your body, you want to think of it as picking baby straight up, and then see I have baby hanging over the changing table here, and then I'm going to turn myself so baby stays in one place, goes a little higher so I can get my arm over my head, but the whole time baby is in that same spot over the changing table. This is especially good if you're practicing over a bed. Keep baby over the soft surface. Likewise, if you're doing the method with especially a older baby or toddler standing or sitting in front of you and facing away, then instead of swinging baby around your body, it's the idea of you keep them in one place, and instead of them going around my left shoulder, I'm going to kind of turn my left shoulder towards them. So the baby stays essentially in one place, and you just turn around them. The next thing that is a little different when you add the wrap is that you actually need to think about what your next step is going to be, which is pulling the top rails on each side to the front so you can mess with them in a wrap. And this is fairly straightforward. It just, sometimes you have to think about it a little bit. So once baby is on your back, I'm going to alternate. So right now I'm going to hold baby's left arm secure. I'm kind of leaning forward a little bit so that they can lay on my back. This isn't great for a lot of the wrapping process, but for this part it's okay. And I'm going to take my right arm and grab the top rail and pull it to the front and get my arm under it. And then I'm going to grab their right arm and do the same with the left side, pulling the top rail to the front and getting my arm under the whole tail there. So now I can reach both tails. You notice the bottom rail is still hanging down my arm. That's just fine. I don't want the bottom rail up on my shoulder yet because I haven't made the seat. So I actually need some looseness in that for a later step. Right now we're just worried about the top rails. And again, if you were wrapping an older baby who had good neck and core strength, you could actually, when you pull these to the front, you can actually pull them under baby's arms so that it's pinned under their armpits and they have their arms out. If your baby is old enough that as you're wrapping they can pull their arms out and they insist on it, it's generally easier to just start them that way and tighten around that correct shape instead of trying to fight them into keeping their arms in when they don't want to be there, because it just makes everybody miserable during the process. So the next step is getting baby down. That's the last thing that's a little different. It's actually a little easier when you have the wrap. So what I'm going to do is actually bring this bottom tail under my arm, and the arm where the wrap is still over the shoulder is going to hold both of these tails together. And if it's tight, even without a seat, baby's secure. And I'm going to put my right hand under baby's thumb. I'm going to kind of lower them down into that hand. And instead of lowering them by their arm, I'm lowering them by the wrap. And then inching them around with the wrap itself. And that's even easier if you're doing it from a completed seat. But as long as that top rail is nice and snug, you can kind of rotate baby around using that. So the primary things with lesson 3 that are different than lesson 2 and just getting baby on and off your back is adding that wrap, which is learning to turn yourself towards baby instead of turning baby around your body, and getting the tails in front of your shoulders, making sure they're not trapped in between you and baby, and getting baby back to the front. And you can use the wrap to facilitate that process of scooting baby back around your hip. So continue to practice this until you feel comfortable with getting baby on your back with the wrap and you don't constantly feel tangled. That's the big step, is being able to get the tails to a place where you can actually comfortably work with them. Once you get to that point, then you can move on to lesson